guys, we're going to be comparing these two flashlights. Not just a comparison between these two particularly, actually. You might think it as a comparison between a 1 km LEP light and a 2 km LEP light. Okay, straight to the charts. TK30 versus the W30, or you can say 1 km class LEP versus 2 km class LEP, because usually they're around that same kind of format of dimensions. Okay, length. I would say W30 is a little bit longer, but it's not a huge factor, I guess, between these two. I wouldn't say. Shorter, of course, better. You want it as compact as possible, right? For your performance. Width of the head, this is significant, about 1 inch. It doesn't seem like a lot, but 1 inch in terms of flashlight width is quite significant. What makes it also significant is how that head width compares to the tail width. It's like the body. This is basically a tube. You can see TK30 1.3 inch, 1 inch, and this is double. So you have like kind of that shower headed feature, and it's just feels different. There's a balance difference. So all this plays into how it feels in your hand. Weight 5.15 ounce versus 8.74 ounce. Not a huge amount, 3 ounce, but that 3 ounce is coming from bigger the body from the head, more materials, the more glass is heavy from the head as well. But because the balance is in the head for the W30 for sure, it actually, and because of the length, you have that leverage effect, and you're holding it, it's a rear clicky, forward clicky, you feel that it is more heavier. You can actually feel the weight difference between the two. The TK30 feels more balanced in your hand if you're going to hold it long term, I guess. And the W30 feels heavier. That 3 ounce does feel heavier, it's significant. But you have a tripod mount. Maybe the W30 would have tripod mounted. I don't know, for extenuous, who knows what. Right, continuing, coating. Both hard anodized type 3, just the finish is different. You got a matte for the W30, and all Acebeams are matte. And you get a shine, and I think Fenix also likes to have all their lights shine. It's a personal preference. I guess shiny feels a little bit more slippery, but they do have like different texturing, so it's just a different preference. Let's say if with the matte finish, you can kind of like, looks like it has scratches in it, like, you know, you can rub your finger and leave a scratch of that you can just rub out. Do you know what I mean by that? So it's just different tastes, but durability should be the same. Price difference, they should be roughly around the same. They're like mid 200 lights. I paid $250 for my TK30. I see it around $270 in street price, $300 retail. W30, actually I can't remember what I paid for it, but I think it was somewhere around the mid 200s. But the retail is $330. Now it's discontinued, so I guess it doesn't even matter. Secondary market, who knows? I think I once tested the water, and because it is discontinued, that it actually can, surprisingly, it holds its value, or you can I think get even more than you paid. You probably could get this price if you sold your thing. It depends on different markets, right? Because it's discontinued, right? Battery, so basically the same type of battery, 21 to 700 formats. The capacity is basically the same, but I like that the Fenix is using a Type-C. Type-C is just better because you can just don't have to think about the orientation as you inserting the charging cable. Much better. Power indicator, TK30, a lot more information than the W30. This is it, solid green. You have this percentage, green flash, solid red flash. Means that it actually only lights up as you're using initially the flashlight. So as you press the button, and then it goes off. So that I kind of don't like, because it's not giving you any more feedback on of what the thing is. But maybe some people just don't care, because anyway they will be pressing it, you know, short term anyway for momentary use. And this W30, it just stays on, and so many people may find that distracting. This kind of solid green light that's just shining on the side. You may want to face that away from your face, who knows. It's not very detailed. It's just when it's red, you just need to charge it. It's below 3 volts. And I like to also comment about how this indicator, that because it goes out in the dark, it's actually very hard to find that button, because the power indicator is the same as the button that activates the different other modes for the flashlight. So it's actually hard. That's why I get my clip and I face it to the direction of the button in case I would want to switch the modes, but usually you don't switch the modes, so I'll get into that a little bit later. Forward, they're both using forward clickies, great, because that's the perfect switch for this type of light. It's not like super high power, it doesn't need a digital switch. The TK30 has a, you know, rubber interface, just classic, and it protrudes out. So this protruding rubber may be easier to access if you're law enforcement or Leo and military, and it'll be just easier to press, but you cannot tail stand. Alternatively, W30 has a stainless steel metal cover, and I mean, they both feel fine. I would say the W30 maybe feels a little bit more easier to press, but you can tail stand it. I would say it's not so hard to press, and I don't feel like it's hard to press the button, but maybe this is a little bit more easier. Okay, in terms of depth, super difference, right? So IP68, this is basically like your smartphone. I think your smartphone, what the waterproof capability of dropping your phone in like a swimming pool, 2 meters, 30 minutes, something like this. And nowadays, current smartphones. And W30, they claim it's a diving light. I had it in the swimming pool, perfectly fine. Double O-rings, has all the standard stuff. There's no switches or anything else that would make it have some kind of weak point for a water intrusion. So, you know, it's actually an extra trump card that the W30 has. Drop resistance, basically the same, 1.21. I wouldn't want to drop these lights. I don't know the durability. If you ever look at the components involved, it seems like there's many different kind of components involved. That's why it tends to the price. It's quite complicated, but they do sell like the TK30 with the rifle mount. I suppose they're all durable. These should be durable enough to handle a recoil of a rifle. I wouldn't want to drop it. I just wouldn't. I don't know. I would think the glass would shatter. Who knows? I just kind of feel like it's like a camera lens, but whatever. Warranty. They're both very established brands, and they give you both limited lifetime. I don't know what that means. That's just more or less that they'll fix it for you, and like you pay for the part, etc. like that. You know, they got your back. Fenix has been around since the dinosaurs, and Acebeam, also a great company. They go into a little bit more detail. I think 15 days they'll just exchange the whole light if there's a problem. 5 years they'll replace the part that fails, and lifetime you'll have to pay for the part or whatever the case. And this is what you're paying for. You're paying a little bit more for these as well, for these kind of brands. I know that Astrolux just came out with their budget one, and it is a bit more cheaper, and I think Astrolux is mostly sold on Banggood, and maybe you can get on AliExpress as well. And I would say that dealing with a Banggood before, once you buy these lights like Astrolux, good luck. That's it. You bought the light, and that's whatever you have, it's yours. And if you have any problems, good luck on that, you know. And that's why you're paying less for an Astrolux compared to, so just so you know. And I remember seeing some guy who had a TK30 the beam wasn't completely round. Fenix replaced it, no problem. So that's what you're paying for. Good warranties on both these brands. They're both really good companies, and Banggood sucks. Distance, yeah, they're both completely different classes of LEP lights. 1.2 km, 2.4. What is good, what is bad between the two? Oh, obviously 1.2 km is wider, and that's why it goes less far, and 2.4 is more narrow, more laser-like, and more intense. So which would be more, it depends on your application, which is more useful. You would have to determine yourself, and there's beam shots where you can see the difference. In the beam shot, I have comparison. I just put one standard 1000 lumen flashlight. You'll find that most handheld lights would be that 1000 lumen, and you would compare it between these two. You can see how much brighter these two are compared to just a normal, you know, light that you would see on the market. They're both great. And then you'll see the difference between the intensity of these two lights, how this is like a lot more significant at a more tighter beam, and you would have to decide on yourself. Okay, also the difference, the W30 is just a single mode light. It's a single mode light and very simple. And the TK30 has, the UI has different modes. You have a 500 lumen, 100 lumen, and you have a strobe. Now, I would say first, let me address the runtime difference between these two. Okay, they both claim 500 lumens, but 3 hours and 1 hour 45 minutes. It's like basically half. So why is this the case, you're wondering? I would say it's basically the case is because this TK30 is not 500 lumens throughout. And I did some measuring. I don't have a calibrated meter, so I can't say exactly what the lumen is, but I can compare, at least compare between the two, and I can say that the TK30 definitely drops in intensity, and it's just basically because there's just less body material. So I think it's like adjusting itself based on that and just dropping the lumens down based on that. I mean, if you're gonna use it momentarily, it'll probably give you that 500 lumens but if you're gonna use it long term, this is like when you're comparing the two, the W30 just has more material. It's basically where that area is where the heatsink is, it's thicker there, and that's all the extra weight as well. And it can handle it. It can basically run that 500 lumen, true 500 lumens, much longer than this. So there is a difference. The reason it's low, I wouldn't say it's an efficiency difference. It's just that the W30 is holding it much longer compared to this. So if that makes a difference to you, if it's throttling down on you, then that's part of your decision process. Now let me talk about the different lumens and modes. And I would say that I'm not a fan of these low end strobe inside this Fenix TK30. And hear me out. This is my logic. It's basically these lights, you're paying a premium price, right? You're paying like double what a normal premium. You're paying a premium light would be in the 100, right? Then you're into the 200 range. You're paying premium on a premium, and you know there's no reason why you would use, like, I can't imagine any reason why you would use this 100 lumen, unless it's like emergency. This is your one and only light. You're stranded on a boat, and you're trying to save the power. That's the only reason I can see it, but it doesn't even make sense. These flashlights are not your secondary. They're not even your primary. They're not your secondary, like your tertiary. Is that right? Tertiary light. They're like your third light that you would carry on you. So I would use any of those other lights way before using any of these at a lower lumen. So for example, if you're using it at a farther distance, there's no reason why you would run it at a lower lumen, because you're paying that extra money. You might as well buy a cheaper light if you're going to run it at a lower lumen. It doesn't make sense, right? You might as well just get it like MC13, or something else like that. That's just gonna give you like a lower output. There's no reason. Then maybe you argue and say, oh well, maybe at a closer distance you'll use 100 lumens because you don't want to blow out the object, overexpose it. But guess what? When you're at that kind of close distance, anything like within like 50 meters, the hotspot is so narrow, it's still useless. Even with the 100 lumen, it's still, you're lighting up something so narrow. And these lights, you should be really using well over 50 meters, maybe 100 meters plus, right? 100 meters plus, you should be using these flashlights. So if you're using it at close range, it's so impractical that I just don't understand why you would have this low and this strobe. And then I have to continue on and say, oh well, it doesn't get in the way, right? We can say it doesn't get in the way. It's memorize the mode. You're inside the high mode or low mode, and then memorize the mode. And well, guess what? This waterproof rating is based on that digital switch that's on the side of the body. Because it has that digital switch, that's kind of like a weak point in terms of water intrusion, while this has a double O-ring and no extra like intrusion points. You can have a diveable light. There is like a trade-off to have these kind of low lumens, and I would say 99.99999, I'm just off the charts. You would never use this low mode. I can't see it unless someone can figure it out and tell me. They can comment below. I really don't see why you would use this low mode. And so it's like, if they can remove that switch, they can make it more waterproof. I would love for the TK30 to remove the switch and then double O-ring and have like more waterproof nature of it. Strobe also useless in my opinion. Everything's my opinion. Of course you can disagree, comment below why. When you use a strobe mode, of course if you use it on an assailant, it distract the assailant. Also distract you as you're getting the flashes in your eyes as well. So these lights are so super intense. They're like shooting a laser. First of all, no kid should be using these kind of lights. They're dangerous. You shouldn't be shining at pets, animals, human beings. You should not shine these lights into. They're already so intense that the beam itself, solid, is already tactical and defensive, that you don't need to add the strobe into it. It's just like too much. And like I don't know, maybe someone might think, oh,
you use it as to maybe to get rescued. Nah, you can just forward click SOS or something like that at the full 500 lumens as opposed to doing some kind of weird strobe thing. So I'm happy to give away the low mode and the strobe. They offer nothing, I think, because I would love, like, you can have a more waterproof. I would love that this TK30 could be diveable, or like at least snorkelable. No, just able to, you know, withstand marine type environment. And I'm talking about when you're inside an environment that has salt water, salt water would kill any kind of electronics. Once it's in, it's done. The flashlight is done. All right. Tint, I have no idea what the tint is on the TK30. I would say it's cooler than my 6500. It's kind of white. It's fine. It's whatever it is. Most of these lights are just kind of like in the middle. Nothing's too crazy. Of course, the W30 was nice when they offered so many options, but 6500K was the best in my opinion, because it's actually not that. It actually looks a little bit more yellowish. It's more warmer. I love 5000K neutral. It's my favorite, and this looks good. They both look good. They're fine. Okay, and then I already went into my rant about the modes, high-low strobe. So this is a single mode, simple, nothing to fiddle with. It is a single purpose light, or it has some multiple purposes, but it doesn't need multiple. You're just looking for the highest intensity. You don't need different modes, honestly, for these things. This should be like a separate light that's strapped onto your body just for pointing things out, to searching, to that moment in time where you're like searching far out. High-low strobe, low strobe, delete it. Give me some more waterproof action. That I would love. Class 3B. And let me just say, like, yeah, okay. Laser, they're both 3B laser. I think they're all using the same tech. It's from that Shanghai company that they're all licensed from. That's where the extra cost, I think, comes from. I always think that if this was a foreign company, that the Chinese would have ripped it off and just stole the tech. No offense, but it's a Chinese, so Chinese patent, so you better pay for it. Accessories, mostly the same. You get the lanyard and the different things. Red filter, the red filter helps. I think they changed it over to a diffuser later on. Red filter is good for if you don't want the laser beam effect. If you want to be more discreet, you can light something up. Obviously not as far away, but it'll be definitely be more discreet about it. There would be just no lightsaber effect. And tactic ring, so dumb. Like I said, you know, this thing is so head heavy that you don't want to hold it in that tactical cigar kind of format, that kind of form. It's so weird to hold it. That's the first thing I took off because it got in the way of putting it into a holster, which I bought. Like, I bought some third-party one that fits a bigger light and grabs onto the head. Yeah, it works fine. I wish it came with a holster. They should give it, because whatever. That's fine, because TK30 gives you a holster, so you don't have to fish around. It's like an extra little thing where you don't. Holster's not that expensive. You can buy them for $5, but you know, trying to search for the perfect one kind of sucks. TK30, they use a generic holster, and it looks like it's probably a holster they use on different other types of lights. And because it's TK30, it's just a very common tube format, very practical, very convenient. It can go into some kind of generic holster, so easy. Only thing I would complain about, since it's an adjustable, you can see it's adjustable with Velcro for different lights. I would say that it doesn't hold the light so deep that you would want to put the head in first, because it feels slightly more head heavy, because most of the awesome stuff is in the head, the business end. So yeah, you want to put the head in first, and
that's what
the holster is not 100% perfect, but I'm glad they gave it to it, and it's there. Okay, so what kind of conclusion can I get into?
So conclusion, let's get into a conclusion between these two different lights. Which one's better? I think for this kind of comparison, there's going to be a couple of type of people. Some people might own a W30 or a 2km class, and they might think, should I buy one of the smaller 1km class lights? And I would say yes. The answer would be yes, because these are quite practical and it's definitely useful. I use this in hiking. I remember this time we're hiking with friends and we saw this white bag. We saw a white object. I gave it away. I saw a white object way down the trail. Couldn't see it. Lucky I have something like this, like a very narrow thrower, and singled out the object, and it was a white trash bag that someone taped up on the tree just to be nice, so people don't throw the garbage on the floor. And I was able to spot that out. So this is super useful. It's my third light that I would carry on me while I'm hiking. And in land use where there's trees, there's obstruction, this is super useful. Love it. highly recommend. You don't have to buy Fenix for sure. You can look at other 1km lights. So if you have this kind of class, yes, you should also invest inside one of this. If you were just a starter between the two lights, I would recommend this as well because of 1km, because it's, again, like I said, I would carry this 9 out of 10 times. This is obviously a little bit more practical as the beam is a little wider, and you know, when they say this is beyond line of sight, that's what Acebeam says. It's true. It's actually farther than your eyes can see. So it's kind of overkill in that kind of sense, but it still has use. I would say like land use, marine use, this is great. If you're still looking, maybe you had this and then you're looking, should I buy this on a secondary market, it's discontinued or something similar? And yeah, if you had a boat, if you're like a kayaker or something like that, and this will help. There's so much space out in the water. This will help you to see much farther, markers, buoys or whatever, or to signal someone, and completely waterproof, really waterproof. If you want to dive with it, you could dive with it. And that would probably be what I would change the difference between if I were to, maybe I would like this light to be more like this light, in that it would be one mode and they would just make it as waterproof as possible. That's what I would love in a 1km. I would like all LEPs to be that, because I still think that having modes in an LEP light is just useless. It's useless when you can make the flashlight waterproof, like seriously waterproof, because salt water will destroy electronics, right? What else can I say? Obviously easier to carry. This is like a shower head. I don't know. They give you a clip. It doesn't. I don't know how you're supposed to clip when this is sticking to your ribs or whatever, or into your thigh, who knows. It's just not as practical. What else to comment about? Oh, I don't know. I can comment about these. If you have one of these W30, this kind, you can get these kind of like camera. They're like these little silicone covers for camera lenses. And it's really great to protect the head and the lens. And you just put it right on, and you can toss this into your bag. Just a recommendation for people who already have this light. And another recommendation, actually using is Solar Force holster. That's what I mean. You can just buy a $5 holster, and it just goes in. You got to take the tactical ring off because it just gets in the way, and it holds perfectly in. So if you're looking for a holster for W30 Solar Force, I think they might be out of business now. Who knows? Crazy how the flashlight market changes. And so yeah, if you can find one of those holsters, works very perfect with it. Okay, so I think that's it. I mean, definitely first time users, buy this. If you have this is definitely worth getting. If I had to buy, okay, that's one thing I didn't say. And I think it's a kind of stupid logic. If you had to keep one between the two, even though I use this the most, I would keep this one if I was forced to keep one of the two, just because they're kind of like track cars. I would want the track car that just have the stripped out interior that's more like a singular purpose, and that's so fine-tuned for that singular, that kind of application. So yeah, and this just gives you the giggles and makes you so happy. And but you don't live in a world where you're forced to carry one light only, so it's a kind of like exercise in futility, like this, trying to decide which only light, you know. It would make sense to actually keep this light if I had one choice, but I hope you can understand why I picked this light for that reason. But anyway, LEP lights, awesome that it's expanding. I heard about triple LEPs coming out. I don't know if you guys heard about that. So if you know any rumors, you can comment below about other kind of lights and other LEP lights. I'm just glad that it's expanding, and I'm glad I can just say they're defense lights, because I'm so scared of they're becoming illegal. But I think quite easily they're excellent home defense light. These are great for home use. Single mode, no lockouts. I had these, how many times I get waking up like 4 in the morning and the wife goes, "Oh, I heard the front door opening." And I remember one time I grabbed the KR4, and I think it was in lockout. I was like, oh my god, how many clicks out of lockout? When you're so foggy brain, you don't even know what you're doing. I couldn't even get into like a right mode. And that time I knew that single mode, 4-click, they are the best for those kind of tactical applications. And yeah, but don't shine it at humans. Don't try to shine it unless it's like life or death, I guess. I don't know. Use your own discretion, okay? So anyway, like, share, subscribe. Those help. It doesn't cost you anything. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time.
Yeah.